Hi there YouTube! Now, if you've been watching me, being both Trainz Extreme and XtremeTrainz, for a while, you would know that I got a massive stack of prizes from Leo Kim Video for being his top fan in 2013. Now, you would also know if you watch some of my older Trainz Extreme videos that I'm a massive Doctor Who fan. So this was included in that prize pack, and it's literally been sitting in its box for almost 2 years now. But finally, after having a little bit of a break before the craziness of uni exams start, I thought, you know what, it's time for me to get some Dalek. This, guys, is a review of the Doctor Who radio-controlled Dalek, the Sumpreme. Now, I know that this product has been out for quite a long time, and as far as I know, is actually discontinued. But sometimes these retro reviews can be quite interesting, as they give you a bit of an insight into the toys that once were. Particularly during this era of Doctor Who, where merchandise was going absolutely bonkers. And on the eve of the new LEGO Doctor Who TARDIS set, which will be great to compare to my character building stuff, which I'll talk about in later reviews once I get that LEGO set in my hot little hands. Alright guys, what are you waiting for? Let's do it. Alright, so it's so big that I decided, you know what, I'm going to take it out of my room, just so I can show it to all you guys. I'm just rotating the box around here. I mean, there's nothing that I want to note on the box just yet. The biggest thing is just to take a note of, you know, just the size, the way it's very attractively packaging, very classic Matt Smith, style era of packaging with the big time vortex behind it with the blue, and then the circles they use to delineate the special features. Again, just trying to show that it's also a very massively sized box. You've got your classic character bio in there, which I'm just going to bring into the screen. Have a look at that. You can pause it if you actually want to read the whole thing. Now, I was actually a big fan of the Technicolor or Teletubby Daleks. Some people really didn't like them, but I thought they were awesome, so I'm a little bit sad that they've kind of been canned. But hey, like, welcome to the land of Doctor Who, things change all the time. First thing I want to point out, and something I want to you think about for this whole review, look at the price of this in Australia. Yep. Now, ABC Shop is a more expensive retailer, and the shops have actually gone broke now, unfortunately. Like, you can only buy them online. The actual physical stores have all closed down just because of the price. But Doctor Who merchandise, the same as most licensed merchandise in Australia, is notoriously more expensive than it is in the rest of the world, particularly in the toy department. And, you know, if you watch any Australian toy reviewers, you'll know that we always complain about how things are, you know, anywhere between 1.5 to 3 times the price. This is definitely something which I'm sure all my UK or US viewers are going to say, what the heck, you got it? I got it for, you know, $80 US or something. Yeah, well, welcome to Australia, guys. So you can see that this has got everything inside of it. Now, boring box, doesn't really do anything. Let's crack it open and have a look what's actually inside. Alright, so I got this guy out of the packaging. He only just fits in the frame, oh my goodness. The first thing I want to say is that I'm quite used to relatively difficult packaging. As a Transformers fan, they always use a lot of... They went through a phase of using string into about 2009, but otherwise they use like plastic kind of cable tie type things, and that's how they keep the Transformers in the packaging. And they're a pain in the butt to get out, because they're messy, you have to cut them, you can't untie them, all that kind of stuff. So I'm used to difficult boxes and different unboxings. This was next level confusion and difficulty. Getting this guy out of the packaging was a nightmare. Not only was there so much sticky tape and an insert within an insert, there were those metal style twisted cable tie things, so you couldn't cut them with a pair of scissors. You had to actually untie all of them. And moreover, the actual base of the Dalek was screwed into the bottom of the box, like literally with screws. And it's this kind of packaging which just to me screams overkill. You don't need to use that much packaging, like design your boxes better so that they don't damage the product inside, rather than you relying on this massively complicated amount of packaging, which a kid is never going to be able to get open. And so then what is meant to be a kid's toy or a Christmas present or whatever becomes mum and dad being like, oh no, we've got to spend 15 minutes like I did, like cutting everything out and unscrewing things. And also means that if a kid does try and get it out, it means it's really likely they're actually going to break something, because they're forcing things and pulling on things where they're not supposed to be pulled. So I really am not a fan of hard to open packaging. That said, what you actually finally get out of the packaging is quite cool. Alright, so taking a bit closer look, first of all, the controller just quickly. Not the nicest controller that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's certainly not bad. I left this on because it said do not discard, so... It's got the Doctor Who logo along the top there, which is kind of hard to see because it's in white, but that's okay. It's kind of stylized. You've got your buttons along here, which I'll explain later. The back's quite, you know, the bottom of Dalek I think is what it's meant to look like, but don't quote me on that one. Just a very basic controller. I mean, I've seen better, but it's definitely, you can tell that it's not a knockoff, like even in places like the top where I thought that was a split seam. No, that's intentional part of the design. Antenna wasn't attached. Maybe that's what's saying not discard, so you have to screw that in. Bringing Dalek himself, or herself, depending on what you want to think, forward. Very, very impressive. As you can see, it is quite large. Like, this is my hand, and I'm just putting it over the top there. Like, it's definitely a sizable figure. I'll measure it up in the next cut that I do. Very, very, very impressively detailed. The first thing I want to say is it's actually got quite a bit of heft in it. That's because it's got two motors, one for each of the power wheels, so it is quite heavy. It's just got a lot of really nice details. They're all 3D, they're all relief, all really well painted, down to, you know, this thing on the back, which is meant to be a weapons compartment, but we never saw that happen because, you know, people didn't like these Daleks, they got scrapped. All the these things, which I know have a name, but I've forgotten what they are, how embarrassing, are well done in relief. You've got the nice, somewhat see-through grate, which is good, which is show accurate. The head's really nice, really shiny dome. You've got the nice paint coming along here. It's a little bit shiny, probably because there's a bit too much, but that's alright. Got the eye stalk, which does actually light up, but even then you can see it's got that slit for the eye. Coming down to these are actually movable. They're on like little ball joint things, so they move around. They're also removable. They come detached in the packaging. Oops, there you go, it just fell out. And there's the exterminator gun. Really, really nice. This one is a little bit fragile, I think, because of all these little long bits. And the paint, as you can see, if we come into here, is a little bit haphazard in that black part. You can see there's something that's come out there on the railing. But overall, like, considering character options and the way they've done some quite haphazard Doctor Who character building Lego style sets, this is actually very, very nicely put together, with one exception. Now, it's designed so that the eye stalk and the two lights can come out. You can probably see that because there's a little bit of a black mark, like a black line, and that's because it can come out. And I'm not exactly sure why they're detachable. I mean, maybe it's so kids don't break them, like this, but I mean, like, I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because classic, that means you've got more wiring connections, because these all light up. So straight away, this light didn't work. I had to do a lot of fiddling to get that to work. I got some bits of alfoil and scrunched them up and put them between the metal contacts, because in classic character building style, or character option style, there was actually it's got two little dimples that you need to click in, and one of them dimples was a bit bent out of the box. It was already bent. So I fixed that with a bit of alfoil, which made the secure electronic connection. But yeah, I don't know why they did that. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe you guys know the answer. Alright, that's enough of this guy just standing around. Let's get him to do the really, really cool stuff, which is the talking. So using my Dodgy Brothers XtremeTrainz measuring system, it's about 35 centimeters from the bottom to the top, which is about like 13.5 inches, I think. Don't quote me on that one because Imperial's confusing. You guys should change to metric in the UK and the US. But anyway, that aside, you can see straight away that when it's in the on mode, there's also a try me mode, which is in the box, which means if you press this dimple here, it'll actually make noises. The eye stalk is lit up. If you don't know what I mean by that, we can just come in and see that, yeah, there you go. I'm getting the lens flare, so that eye stalk is definitely lit up. Looks very, very cool. Before I get into moving it, the first thing to note is you really do need to extend the aerial because it really needs to be out for it to work properly, otherwise it just doesn't seem to do what you want it to do. So, there's 5 buttons. The big one in the middle, you can probably guess what noise that's going to make. This is a Dalek. So, each button does 2 different sound effects, so I'm just going to cycle through all those now. That's your first button. I just realized that this is not a very flattering camera angle to show off the flashing headlamps, which are really hard to show, but I'll see if I can get them in this time.
Out, or you will be exterminated. I obey.
That was the second button, the 2 different phrases there. I think from this angle you can better see the flashing lights, I hope.
Multiple spectators.
that was the second button. This is skipping the big one in the middle. This is the fourth button.
Scan reveals nothing. Seek, locate, annihilate.
It doesn't say seek, locate, destroy, which makes me a little bit sad. But anyway, that's okay. Moving on to the last button and the final two sound effects.
We are the support, or you will be exterminated. You are an enemy of the Daleks.
There you go. So there's the 10 sound effects. Pretty good. The only one I said that I'm not a massive fan of is the seek, locate, annihilate. Seek, locate, destroy is a little bit more classic, I think. Or maybe it just sounds better, I don't know. And the only one that maybe could have been in there is like identify, or something like that. Because they're actually all quite calm and collected. But you can see there that the sound effects reasonably loud, really nice. I hope I got the flashing domes on the top there, but they do actually light up. I'll just come in closer just once more, just so you get an idea of what they do. So there's that. Looks really nice, gives a lot of effect, but that's still not the coolest part of this guy. So give me 1 second, I'll move my camera, then we're actually roll him around. Alright, so you're kind of getting a tour of my kitchen living area, but that's okay, because I need to actually give you plenty of scope to see what this guy can do. Now, it doesn't actually have a turnaround on the controller, it's just got two forward and backwards knobs, which control the two rear wheels independently. So it allows you to do stuff like this, but also this. So note you can go forwards and backwards independently on each wheel. Therefore, it would be presumed that to go forward, you put both forward. And to go backwards, both backwards. So you can get essentially quite a few movements out of this if you just control the sticks and get it so you just right, so you can decide when you want to go forwards and backwards. So while he's going around, you can see that the head actually just spins around by itself. So it does actually, I'll try and go towards the camera, move, jump up over the middle and go side to side, which is quite cool. There doesn't seem to be a particular amount of pattern to it, it just seems to be, it must be on wheel rotations. But yeah, he does like going side to side while he's wandering around. I've gone back to he, but again, like, that's probably inappropriate considering he doesn't have a gender. Really. Now, as you can see, this is with mostly fresh batteries. Unfortunately, I only had 3 AA batteries in my house, which is what this guy has to take, and there's a 9-volt battery inside the controller. So he's got 3 new batteries, fresh batteries, and one of the Dodgy Brothers ones that came with the actual toy. But you can see that it is actually quite a sprightly mover. I was testing it out off camera before I did this review with the old batteries, and he was moving a lot more slowly. So with fresh batteries, you actually get a decent amount of speed with him. So I'm actually really happy with the way it controls and moves around. One thing you'll notice is when the batteries start to go, the controller gets a bit finicky with putting both sticks forward to do it together at the same time or reverse together at the same time. So that's something which you've got to be careful of. When that's probably a sign you're running out of batteries. But with fresh batteries, no problem at all doing stuff like that, which is one forward and one back. The last thing then is, can it talk and drive at the same time? Well, let's find out. As you can see, it's a little bit sometimes struggles to, because obviously it's hard because you've got to press the button and move around, but sometimes it doesn't want to play friendly. So whether or not you can make it talk and drive seems to depend on how it feels. There you go, did it then, but there you go. It seems to do it sometimes and not other times. To me, that's not a massive deal, although it's probably a sign that maybe there needs to be some better power routes between wherever the voice part is and the wheels, because I feel like they probably use the same power cable, which means when the engines are running, they're drawing all the power. Don't leave much else for the talking or the eyes and lights to go. But that said, there you go, see, that time I couldn't get any responsiveness out of the sticks. So it's a little bit on and off, but that doesn't really worry me. I think it's still quite a cool toy. So hopefully now you've got an idea of the movement aspects of this, and I've shown you all the details. So then what we really have to ask is, would I recommend this toy? Alright, so I know the recommendation and the purpose of me doing this, considering this toy is, like, as far as I know, out of production, probably isn't super helpful, though I'm sure you can find one in an ABC shop somewhere because they have stock on the shelf for years because it's too expensive and no one buys it. I mean, what? But that aside, I actually think this is an incredibly awesome toy. I've got a lot of Doctor Who stuff. I've got a lot of the character building stuff, which is made by the same company that makes these. And if you go and check out my old channel, Trainz Extreme, you'll see I did a lot of reviews of them on that channel. And I was always kind of like, yeah, it's cool, but I don't know if it has the play value, or I don't know, it's really like, you know, you don't get a lot out of it. Lego doesn't work as well. I've got a lot of the key rings and, you know, the Doctor Who Sonic Screwdriver toys, and they're cool, but they don't really do anything, which is something that I've always found is problematic because the show of Doctor Who is so much about doing stuff and things happening rather than just existing in midair. So this is my first kind of role play Doctor Who toy, and oh man, thank you, Leo, because this is awesome. I'm a massive fan of this one. I think it's really good. I think both collectors and like kids alike would love to have a Dalek that does this. I mean, obviously, next level awesome would be if you could remote control these things, the plunger and the laser, but, you know, that's asking a little bit too much. So I guess the only question that I would have about this is just the price. I mean, yes, it's awesome. Yes, it's big. Yes, it lights up and makes sounds, but you can go out and buy remote control cars that are kind of getting along that similar line and do that same kind of stuff for less than half the price, like $30 or $40 that are half decent. So I just think that the biggest thing which holds me back from this guy is the price, and I have to say I would never have bought it of my own money. Like, as I said, getting it as a gift, awesome. Having to go out and buy it is not something that I would have been prepared to do. So I just think that the price on these, particularly in Australia, really needs to come down. $100? Yes. Is it worth 100 Australian dollars? For sure. $120? If you had one of these as a demo model, like going around the store, I think a lot of people would be like, oh wow, it's actually a lot cooler than I thought it was, which has definitely happened to me. I was quite underrated this, and was like, oh my god, what an expensive load of crap. But when I've got it out of the box, I'm like, holy moly, this is amazing. So if they had a demo model, you might be able to get away with 120, 130 Australian dollars, but for 170 Australian dollars, I just don't think I can recommend this to anyone who's buying it for themselves. The only thing I can think of is if maybe as a birthday or Christmas present, if that's how it was going to be given, like, you know, and that was the one present you got for the, like, you know, from your parents or Santa or whatever, yeah, sure, I can see that would be a valid purchase. But as someone like me, who's just kind of a really big fan of the show and kind of, you know, likes to keep my money to spend on stuff like Transformers or Thomas items, probably wouldn't want to be spending and probably just can't recommend it for $170. But hey, let me know your opinions. Have you got one of these? I think they did them in at least the red one, but I don't know about any others. If so, what are your thoughts? Have you seen other reviews and checked them out? You know, do you think $170 is too much or too little? How much was it where you were? Let me know all these things and anything else you want to add about this review or me, or whether I should be doing more Doctor Who stuff, which I've actually stopped doing because, like, didn't seem to be getting the views on my old channel. But if you like this kind of content, make sure you drop a comment in the comment section below. Do all those cool things you do on YouTube, like and subscribe and tell your friends, because you definitely talk about Doctor Who reviewers on YouTube from Australia with your friends because you're that cool. And as always, that's all we've got time for. This is XtremeTrainz. That's what happens if you don't tell your friends.